Morning, Linda.
Oh, good morning.
I didn't see you walk in.
We ready? Okay. So call to order. Do I just announce call to order?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna call to order our budget committee meeting on Monday, May 11th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m. This is to go over the fiscal 26-27 budget. So this will be our first budget committee meeting. We will now go to roll call. Ronnie, can you perform the roll call?
Veva Goehler,
Here.
Gretchen Buhner,
Here.
Jennifer Johnson,
Here.
Patty Nichols Gearhart,
Present.
Counselor Arditi.
Here, Arditi. Let's start to get my name right after 2 years,
Arditi.
okay? R-D-T. Got it?
If I learned it, everybody else.
Counselor
Everybody else can, yes. Let's start getting it
Counselor
right, Ronnie.
Cunningham is absent today. Counselor Tyso,
Here.
Counselor President Gearhart,
Here.
Counselor Mitchell,
Here.
Mayor Karazmiski,
Here.
and Counselor Warnstrom.
Here.
Everyone is here and present except Counselor Cunningham, who is excused.
Awesome. Thanks, Ronnie. Okay, the next item on our agenda is we need to elect a chair. From my understanding is the chair is not to be an elected official. So it'll need to be one of our community members. I have not gone through this process before, so bear with me with some grace. How does this usually go about when we elect a chair? Is it all members can vote?
Yeah.
So, okay. So I guess I'll start off. Is there anybody that is looking to be appointed or elected as chair? Okay. Anybody else looking to be nominated? Okay, let's go through a vote. Ronnie, can you roll call vote?
Who are we voting on?
This is for the chair of the budget committee. And so this would be for Veva is being
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Veva Goehler,
Yes.
Counselor Commissioner Gretchen Buhner,
Here.
Jennifer Johnson.
Here. Yes.
Oh, Gretchen, this is for the vote. Yes.
Patty Nichols Gearhart,
Yes.
Arditi.
RBD.
Yeah. There we go. Counselor Tyso,
Yes.
Council President Gearhart,
Yeah.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Kaczmarski.
Question, was this for nomination or to be elected chair?
This will be elected chair, and we have one motion. We didn't get a second, so we need a second motion for that.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think we need a motion and a second and then start over.
I'll take Gretchen. Are you then? Gretchen's putting the first, and so anybody. So the motion's made by Gretchen. Who's going to second the motion? Jennifer seconds the motion. Okay, we'll continue then on. We don't need to repeat for the votes for the yes. We can continue on.
My vote is yes.
Counselor Armstrong,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
Congratulations, Veva Goehler.
Thank you.
Chair, before we start, could I please state a conflict?
Yes.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. I have let me see. I just want to pull up what I got from Missy here. So SB 983 provides an elected public official must announce publicly an actual conflict of interest before publicly participating in discussion, debate, or vote on adoption of a local budget that includes providing compensation or benefits for the public official's relative. So I'm stating my actual conflict of interest at this time, and it does allow me to continue discussion and vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. And now we're calling the budget committee again to order. And the normal thing is I turn it back to Vince to tell us what's going on in the budget.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. So before we dive in, the first thing I want to say is there was a discrepancy in your binders. So there is there should have been two different forms that were passed out to you this morning. So underneath there's this form here, which has all of your fund balances. On there at the very beginning of it, you have your beginning fund balance, and then right underneath is the fees, licenses, permit, fines, assessments, and other service charges. After we had distributed the binder, we realized that some of these numbers needed to be reallocated. So you'll see a reduction in the beginning balance, and then you'll see an increase in that fees, licenses line. The total resources, though, does not change. So it still stays at that $16.8 million. And then also on the budget message, we need to amend that. On the front, it says $9.1 million for general fund. That is actually, what is it, is it this year, 8.2? So 8.2 is that, yeah, so that beginning balance will be adjusted on the budget message. But that's where I just wanted to start off with that so that you folks know that we'll be amending those, but it doesn't change any of the total resources. So diving into the budget, looking at this, being here for 3 months, I've had enough time to meet with our finance team, who's been excellent. And we've gone through, we started to perform some forecasting on our budget. And there's been some things that have been come to light for us. And one of those is that we're starting to see that our expenses are outpacing our revenues. So we're starting to see that, and we need to be cognizant of that. And so there are some things that I'm going to probably come in the future and ask council to direct me as the city manager to look into either additional funding streams or ways that we can recover costs. Because as that escalation starts and it starts to grow, it's just every year over year, it's going to get higher and higher. So we need to get ahead of that. Other than that, though, everything else in the budget, we went through line by line this year, and we started to remove things that either that we can't afford. So starting to talk about the escalation and our funding, with the expenses outpacing the revenues. We went through every single department. So one of the things that you have seen, if you've gone through the budget, is you can see in some of the departments, you've seen some of the money is reduced and some of them has increased. As an example, the city manager's budget, we have increased it because I've taken personnel and I've moved some personnel underneath the city manager. So because of that has increased. I've gone through some of the M&S lines, though, and I've decreased those. So an example of that would be the landscaping down at the park. I'm going to be hiring a public works worker, and that person will also do parks and recreation. The goal of that is for them to take care of some of that, to do some of the landscaping down at the park. That should reduce some of the costs. Other than that, though, you'll see that some of the highest items in your budget is going to be personnel costs. So one of the things that we can do to start here, I think, with the budget that I'd like all of you to look at is if you go to, and we don't have page numbers, but if you go right before the general fund, you'll see a requirement summary page. It should look something like this. Rachel, you'll see it has it'll have some of the charts on there. And then at the beginning of that page, it says requirement summary, and you'll see each of the departments listed.
Before the general.
Yeah, right before, there you go. All right, is everybody there? Okay, great. So one of the things that you can see on here is we go back all the way to fiscal year 23-24 up until the present proposed budget. One of the things that I want you to focus on that you can see is if we go down halfway through this page and you see where it says personnel services, material services, and capital overlay, you can see that in fiscal year 23-24 for personnel services, for example, cost the city $1.8 million. In this proposed budget, that's now increased to $2.6 million. So you might be asking, why did that increase? Well, there's been a few reasons for that. The one is we've hired additional staffing in the last few years. So we've hired additional officers. There's been also additional professional staff that's been hired. The other thing is the city went through a collective bargaining agreement. And in that collective bargaining agreement, there were some things bargained that increased the personnel costs. And so we're stuck with that. So that's something we all need to be aware of, is that will keep escalating year over year. One of the things that the team and I are working on that we're not prepared to present it today, but we put a lot of work into it, is we're going to continue to show this escalation, and then we want to present it to council. We want to be able to show council what are we going to look like in the next 5 years? What are the personnel costs going to look like, the materials and services, and then the capital overlay. It's really important that, and we're just walking into a strategy session, which is excellent, because we need to start thinking about capital projects, for example. How do we match certain grants? If we have a $2 million project, what's the funding source for that? Do we have a funding plan in place? Are we putting together our cash flows? Are we looking at different funding sources that could be grants? And then again, how is our general fund going to match those grants? But this was something that we decided to put together because we wanted to show you the historics and then where we're going. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, if you go to this top table, you can see that the city manager's budget has gone from 600,000. Last year it was 418, now to 600,000. That's because of the personnel being brought in. But then finance and planning has reduced from 1.5 million down to 967,000. That's just one of the examples of the reallocation of moving some of those positions around. Other than that, though, I'll kind of open it up to the floor. Are there any questions from you folks looking through the budget? That's kind of a very high overview. Yes, Rachel.
Could you just clarify what personnel is shifting under yours? Is that like PIO and Public Works?
So Public Works is coming under, PIO has their own department right now. We're going to look at doing a review of the charter of accounts and realigning some of this stuff over the next year. But right now I moved under, it was the planner.
Yes, 20% the planner and 20% public work position.
Yes.
The salary moved to city manager, 100% of city manager salary moved to city manager's department. It used to be all under finance and planning.
So
we
Yeah.
relocated.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to move, especially functionalities, some of the functions that maybe fall under that city manager or that I would have kind of oversight over. I started to bring those underneath that department. So, yes.
I would like to request in future
Yeah.
that we have the full-time equivalency here of the change. Besides just numbers, it would be helpful to say we went from,
What do you do?
I know it's Barry, but I'm saying bring it out here too.
Oh, on this?
Talking about per
No, I'm talking overall. The
overall.
requirement summary,
That is on the first page.
that is on the third chart down.
So on the third chart down,
Where it's requirement summary.
okay.
Yes, there's another LB form requirement summary, just one page before the street fund. The page before street fund tab. You see the requirement summary. That form. So you see that we have the total FTE.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so that's the one. So yeah, next time we should put it.
You want it broken out like this though, into this format? Is that what you're asking for?
No, I just wanted one line.
Oh, you just want one line? I see what you're saying.
On
Okay.
the summary that was
So it's in the
then-
same place.
I see.
Yeah. That's just a logistic. It's there, it's just not on this page.
This is a summary page that I thought would help the reader.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things too is I'm a big process improvement individual. And so we're going to look at, there's an organization called GFOA, which is the Government Financial Officers Association. I'm a member of it. And so I'm actually working towards what's called a CPFO, a Certified Public Financial Officers Accreditation. But they have awards that they give out for budget awards. And so I told the team I'd like us to try to get a budget award in the future years. They have layouts too of how a budget document should look. So that's something that we're going to look into in this next year. I just didn't have enough time to do that in 3 months to put that together. So we will, yeah, but any ideas too, or recommendations, very, very open to that. So thanks, Viva.
Ultimately, the only FTE increase between 26 and 27 is the city manager being full-time. So it's a half a person more than what was in the original, that was in last year's budget,
So-
this year's budget.
Before the city manager wasn't full-time.
Cause we were half a year
You were
without.
half a year without one. So
Yeah.
because the
That's
chief
why.
playing interim, you didn't have one.
So technically a FTE change, but it was just that
Sure,
the
although we had-
equivalency.
But is he still being paid under the city as that FTE? It's not an additional FTE. So when the city manager left, you lost your city manager and then he filled that in, but you have a savings of 6 months because the city manager that wasn't being filled.
So the adjustment for his pay calculated into that too.
I don't know how the pay adjustment.
That was in
like
2026 it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but in this next year, it would be full-time under me.
I think Linda.
Oh,
Yes,
sorry, Linda, go ahead.
I want to make sure I understand the capital outlay figure for
Yes.
2026-7. Do I understand what you're saying is that that's reduced either because we don't have capital projects on the books we're planning to do, or because we can't match other funding that might help us finance those outlays? So it drops from 96,000 in 23 to 6,900 in 2020.
That's just all we have planned right now.
That's all
for
planned.
capital. Yeah, so we don't, one of the things that we'll go over, like in the strategy session, and then we'll look at our capital improvement plan. Right now, we need to look through in the future is looking at our capital projects, reprioritize those, see if those are the ones that you folks want to do, and then we put together a funding plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So this one is general fund.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's the other thing. Yes, good call on that.
Mainly the amount reduced is because the police office, the police department.
We reduced, we pushed out, they had some capital requests for next year. One of those was like a tough book replacement for their computers. We decided to push that out one more year because we don't have the funding. So we pushed $30,000 in capital into the following year. But like Mira pointed out and Katie, that is just general fund. We do have capital that is in either transportation or the street fund for things that are being worked on now.
Thank you.
Yes. And we can, as we move forward into this next year, there is some layout of this that will change, that will make it a little bit easier on the reader. Any other questions? Yes, Jim.
I noticed that we have a lot sitting in contingency funds. Is that because they are more flexible as things come up?
I would say,
Than budgeting them?
yeah, and there's two, the way that it works is we have kind of like two contingency funds that kind of get grouped into one. So you have your future expenditures account, and then you have your contingency account. The contingency account right now is what, 600,000 is what we have in general fund contingency.
Oh, I can't remember the mix.
Yeah, because there's like a mix that equals that beginning fund balance. But we typically keep enough, in my opinion, 600,000 is low, because we should probably have a little bit higher in terms of if we hit compression one year, or if something happened, an unforeseen circumstance that we need to cover that expense. If our general fund our expenses are about 5.6 million, I think, a year is what we're expending roughly, probably approximately. Or 5.9 million, and we're bringing in like 5.6 million. Because of that, that's already, we're seeing that's starting to, like I mentioned earlier, escalate, that there is a chance that we could have to dip into contingency next year. And so we're anticipating that we might have to spend about 160,000 in contingency. But that's an assumption at this point. We don't know what some of our revenues are going to be. We don't know what they are yet until they come in. One of those is, one of them we can't really talk about in the room here. So when we talk about one of our taxes that we get, we can't really disclose. Can I say what it is, the line
I
item?
don't think so.
So I can't really disclose one of the line items. There might be something, if you walk out of this lot, if you look over to a business next to us, you might be able to understand what I'm talking about. But like that form of revenue, it fluctuates every year. Our franchise fees are coming in. As our utilities start to raise their rates, we might see an increase with that too, because of the franchise fees. From my understanding, rooftops, how many new rooftops we have? There's only a handful of them, I want to say, in the new development.
That are
sold.
actually sold.
Yeah.
Less than 20, I think.
Yeah, I want to say it's somewhere of maybe even less than 10.
Yeah.
We'll see that slowly start trickling in future years, as those start to be developed more. But right now, our revenue streams, we don't know. So based on the revenue that we're projecting, we're saying that it could be $160,000 that we might have to dip into contingency. So, Gretchen.
I just thought I'd pass this on. The way the property tax situation is set up with real estate, it's about 2 years behind the reality. So, for example, this last year, we were getting tax revenue on the new area under its old zoning of farm, which is very low. And then the next year, as land is brought in, it becomes zoned, but it's tax is bare land. And then the following year, if there's some construction, well, the amount of revenue you get out of a partially constructed building is very low. And so literally, if they've got some houses are sold, we won't see the real revenue for at least another year and possibly two. It's just the way that the tax system is set up. It's crazy, but that's the reality. So
Rachel had a question, or has some too.
Yes.
I didn't know if we were getting into like the nitty gritty of every sheet in this, or if we're going through each part kind of one by one.
We can go through. I just didn't know if there was any questions to start, and then we can start at the very beginning and just work through each of the accounts.
Okay, because I mean, since we're talking about tax revenues, I did have a question as to why they're going down like 40,000. Like we're getting less tax revenue.
Oh, I think that's, well,
Increase.
It's under the general fund. I'm just on the very first page of general fund.
394 versus 354 on the first page.
Yeah, so it went from 394 to 354. I'm just curious why it's going down.
Where is it?
Right here.
Was it in comparison to the last budget?
It's the
or-
tax that we cannot discuss.
It's, yeah, so Rachel, there's a tax that we can't disclose what that is. There's a business next door to us that I'm sure you understand what that is. That is decreased year over year in our tax revenue
Gotcha.
that we receive.
You just say, I'll say it this way. The social setting of taxes we receive for motels, the liquor store, cannabis stores, that is, the consumption has been reduced. A lot of it is economically driven. And we're also seeing higher cost in the consumption of gas. The state does not allow us to talk about cannabis taxes individually. It is lumped into one, and that was part of the deal they put through. So.
Thanks, Viva. No, that's,
And we do have an opportunity too, that I'm just gonna throw it now, that I fact checked Vince once on that. There is a second cannabis store that we should incorporate to get the revenue. Because as it goes down, that store is more accessible to 99 going that way than the one we're taxing now. And we've had a lot of competition since that store opened here. And I don't believe the liquor stores had any competition because I don't think there's a new liquor store. But possibly all of those, the cannabis is the only one we can't talk about on the numbers.
Okay, my other question on that page just related to that is from the local option levy going down only a couple thousand, but from the adopted budget last year to this year, is that just because that's what we're seeing coming? I'm just wondering, like, did the assessed values, because it's cents on every 1,000 assessed, right? So is the
Yes.
assessed value going down?
well, and I don't know if that
We'd
could
have
tie
happening.
into like if there's homes for sale, for instance, that are vacant in the city, could that affect
No.
any of the levy? Because they're still paying
No.
property taxes.
Reason it's reduced a little bit because the interest allocation. Yeah, we used to allocate the interest in this local option levy fund. However, because after Katie reviewed the interest allocation, we realized that because all the funds transfer all to general fund, so we shouldn't accrue any interest in that local levy account, fund.
That
So-
would not always be zero.
Yes.
So it
So
wouldn't
it won't-
get any interest.
Yes, that's,
Oh.
that's a couple thousand difference. That's the reason.
just gets moved.
Okay.
So it was a correction
And
in
it-
better accounting.
Is
why
that-
we're seeing a difference?
Is that budget law that we can't accrue interest on that? That seems unfortunate.
Well, the principle is that that fund is always $0. Money comes in and then we transfer it back out. So if the accounting is happening properly, it wouldn't get any interest allocation because it wouldn't have funds
Wouldn't be
sitting in
paid back.
there to
Yeah.
earn interest.
So it shouldn't be sitting in there earning interest.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So-
we run the allocation based on how many dollars are actually sitting in the funds, and the local option levy should be zero if we're doing things correctly.
So then are we earning that interest in the general fund?
Yes, it's
Yes.
just moving it
Gotcha.
somewhere else. We
Okay.
are absolutely earning interest.
Okay.
'Cause that's the
Yeah.
LGIP, right? That we're putting all our money into the.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
accounting. Yeah.
Where's
Because
the
at times zero, interest times zero.
There's a
usually
local
happens.
government investment fund that we put all of our general fund dollars into, and then that generates, I want to say something like is it $20,000 roughly, approximately? I know I'm putting out a spot here. It generates a large portion of money every month, but we put,
Do we know the rate?
it's like 4%, maybe 4.25, something like that. And then I get an investment report from the state every month that shows how much we're gaining in interest in that. But we put as much money as we can in there.
It's safe, is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's safe.
Yeah, and all local governments typically do that, is they
State
put money in
pool
LGIP. Yep. Yeah, it's a state pool account that everybody throws their money into to try to get return on.
Are the taxes collected based on all these businesses on their gross revenues?
It's all
What's-
calculated by the state. We
So
don't
the
necessarily
state
get back
uses how
that.
we collect taxes for our businesses.
For our community, is they distribute out, they give us a portion back, so we don't get, just because somebody pays $3,000-4,000 on their home, we get a very small portion of that.
On that, the homeowner can see on their
The
tax
breakdown.
statement what they get.
Exactly.
When you're shopping at the liquor store, you don't know how much comes back to the King City. I mean, it's all dictated by what we voted on as voters.
And Viva, you said the cannabis store, another cannabis store should be paying King City?
No, I said we have an opportunity if the thing that we've talked about for 6 years now, the city council needs to move and annex the other store so that we get revenue. They are surrounded, the storage unit, the service station, everything around it is King City. There's one building that isn't.
Yeah, and it's to dovetail on that, the cannabis store is in the county, so Washington County has jurisdiction over that. The sheriff's office is the one that polices that area. City council can sponsor and direct the city manager to look into that. One of the things that I could put together is like a white paper to then go down there and show them the benefits of being in the city compared to being in the county. And then if they chose to come into the city, then we would generate the tax revenue from them, just like we do next door.
So now that money's going to Washington County.
The Washington County, it's in their, yeah, it's
It
their
would still,
jurisdiction.
yeah, it would still divide. There would be 3% more on the charge down there, and that store would decide to charge it to the consumer or suck it up. And there has been prior, like I said, we've worked on it here. There was a lot of distraction in the city that it got put aside. And there was contact with the manager down there. There was an interest, and it's the city who dropped the ball, not the store, but they're not gonna ask. We have asked them.
Yeah.
And obviously the city's not eminent domain. We work really well there, and there's nobody that lives there. But I don't think that would fly.
No.
Gretchen,
My understanding is that's the only property between 1/16th and Fisher Road that is not in the city.
Does that also tie in? You mentioned something at a council meeting previously about potential ODOT revenues.
Yes.
Is that the missing link then?
Yes.
Okay.
If we own, if everything's in the city, we get a chunk of every traffic ticket that's written. If we're not 100%, we don't get any of the traffic ticket money. Seems to me that's a no-brainer.
but we have worked on it for quite a while, and it seems to stall out. We better get going. We put that point down.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions on the very first requirement summary before we get to the
Yeah.
general fund in the next?
Just a clarification, you mentioned the 20% figure moving per, what's the basis on just 20%? How do you determine that? For,
You're talking about the salary allocations across the funds? Is that what you're talking about?
well, I think under personnel services, under requirement summary, I heard a number of 20% was
Oh,
Allocated to city manager department,
from,
yes.
based on the work that's being done, we allocated that part of the salary to those different accounts. So and correct me if I'm wrong, Mira, but if like,
Changes.
oh,
want me
perfect,
to
yeah,
run
yeah,
through
you
that?
want to run through those then real quick?
So the city manager, we had the city manager only 80% in the city manager department. And then we had allocated the city manager to other departments and we just said, no, city manager, 100% of the salary goes into city manager. So there's an additional 20% of the city manager salary that's in the city manager line item. It's not represented, I think, in the finance and maybe a couple other departments. That's one change. We did not allocate any finance dollars into city manager. And I think we had previously, I don't have a number that we might have done it previously. And then the city recorder was only 10% in the city manager department previously. And now the city recorder is 100% in the city manager. Those are just some of the every year we should be looking at the allocations and really making sure what people are working on are going in the right departments. And we haven't done it in a while. So there's a pretty significant shift that happened that we think will
So
sustain.
it's city recorder, not Max.
No, so,
Okay.
sorry, it is the city recorder, not the city planner. So the city recorder came under, and then as well as my salary went 100% to the city manager. Yeah. Yeah, because the city planner is then under finance and planning.
Yeah.
It should be under there, that full
Streets.
and street fund.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions then on kind of the overview and then going over the requirement summary, then kind of like Veva talked about, let's just start at the very beginning here and we can go through each of these pages all the way to the end. So let's start with the budget message for me on this first page here. Are there any questions or any clarification besides that 9.1 million for general fund for the budget message?
All funds.
Or all funds, I'm sorry, all funds.
It is 3 million in general.
3 million in general fund and then 8.2 million in all funds. Besides that error, is there anything else that anybody wanted to discuss or questions that they had on the budget message?
Is gas tax a percentage of the flat rate? Is it a flat rate or is it a percentage of what you're paying? So as the gas prices go up, is it a percent of the price?
It's a, I don't,
The gas tax.
The gas tax a flat rate?
it's a flat rate, right?
Next
That-
question.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't have that amended sheet in front of me. So, can you explain how the 9.1 became the 8 point something? How did that happen? Or what was the change?
It was a formula error, yeah. And
Oh.
and so we just had to move money into that, take money out of the beginning balance and then move it under the licensing line. And so we ended up reducing that. I forget what sorry, Rachel, hold on one sec here.
That's okay.
The change.
So it changed, yeah, we reduced that from the 9.1 million down to that 8.2, and then you can see the 5.6 increase to the 6.4. So it was a calculation error that it should have went down into the fees, licensing and permit line. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
But as you can see too, that total resources line doesn't change. So the total is the same. Well, I'll just throw out for the budget message, one of the things we wanted to just make sure that it's in here is that there is the kind of the tightness like I talked about is kind of on that second page and how we should be looking at different revenue streams, kind of like Veva and Gretchen have mentioned. There is possibilities and opportunities for us to look at things, and there is more just beyond a gas tax and bringing in an additional business. There's some other things too. There's maybe renegotiating our franchise fees. There might be some other things that we can look into that we haven't done in the past. This is where, and we don't have to do it here, but at the next council meeting in May or even in June, it would be nice to have the council, maybe a council member sponsor and then direct the city manager into looking into additional funding streams or costs. I like to call it cost recovery because that's really what we're doing is to recover the costs of that we're spending. So just to put the bug in your guys' ears, something to think about, and we can talk about that offline about directing me to do those things. Okay, if there's no other comments on the budget message, we're going to keep going through then. Then we're going to move to the next page, which is that financial summary for the resource summary. We talked about those two changes up there at the very, very top. Are there any other questions though or just curiosity of this page? If anybody wants to know anything or has questions on any of the line items?
I'm thinking the one where we have the grants that we don't We don't have any new grants that we're planning to write on that.
So
We're not budgeting that way.
we budgeted for one. There's the TSP relook. We did apply for a grant for that. And so we went ahead and budgeted for that for just the appropriations piece in case we did get that. There is, I talked to the folks at the state during a conference that Jan and I were at a few weeks ago. And they still say that we're still a contender. So there wasn't a direct no.
Yeah.
So that's why we went ahead and added it in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yes, Gretchen.
From talking to Max, they were working on applying for a grant, continue to work on the new,
Marine
We
Board-
lost that.
Marine Board grant. We didn't
Yeah.
get a Marine Board grant.
We didn't get the Marine Board grant, but we did, we are applying this year and we're working on it now is the metro allocation. So we're trying to get a metro allocation, which will also go towards the kayak launch.
So how much was that one that we lost? Was that like 400 sometime?
No, the one that you're thinking of is the metro allocation, which is like 416 or 17,000. That one we're still in. I want to say the Oregon Marine Board grant, without it being in front of me, I want to say that one was a few million. I want to say
No.
maybe a 900,000. No, was it less than that?
a lot less than that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can follow up for that though.
No,
But they had 20 applications and only 2 were chosen. So the very, very small pool this year.
And
Yeah.
that's through Metro.
No, this one's through the Oregon Marine Board.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go after that one again. Yeah. And we have 10 years. If we get the Metro money, we have 10 years to expense that. Patty.
Could you please clarify the debt service?
Yeah.
For 80s, is there a plan to pay that off or what's that for?
So we have a debt on the building that we're in. And so when we purchased this building, we took out, right now, I think the outstanding balance is like 1.5 million. The promissory note, I believe, goes until 2045. Is that what it is? So December 1st, sorry, I have a weird photographic memory, so probably should look at things. So December 1st, 2045 is that promissory note. Right now, it's 1.3 million, but it'll go up to 1.5, or was that the original total? Original total was 1.5. Oh, this is what I'm looking for. Original total was 1.5 million. Now it's down to 1.3 million. This won't be paid off until 2045. Right now, the interest rate's at 5%. It'll reduce down to 3% after 2030 or after 2041. It reduces down to 3%. There is an option for the city, though, for a loan repayment. We can pay in full after 31 with no prepayment penalty. The problem is, though, then we get back into that revenue stream. We don't have any additional revenues to come in to put towards this. So we do have a $1.4 million debt right now that we have to pay off.
Who holds the loan?
The loan is held
Business
by
Oregon?
Business Oregon. Is that who it is?
Yes.
Okay. Through the state. Does that answer your question, Patty?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Rachel, do you have anything online? No? Okay. Well, with that, let's just keep going. We'll go, next is the general fund revenues. You can see a graph here that kind of breaks down what each of those revenue streams are. So you can see from property taxes, there's fees, there's grants, court fines, there's money that's transferred in, and then you'll see cash carryover. Underneath that are the general fund expenditures. And so this is where you can see each of the departments and how those line up, and then where we get to a balanced budget. Are there any questions on where the money is allocated or how it's allocated?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The city municipal judge, is he on a long-term contract or how is that negotiated?
I don't know. Do you know that, Mira?
Oh, I know you've been using Kevin for a long time,
Yes.
but I just didn't know how his salary was calculated.
This contract, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
you.
kind of renew, we just renewed it 5 years ago.
Okay, all right.
What's the how long is this contract for? What's the term?
It's no ending.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's no end.
No.
Okay. Any other questions? Nothing? Okay. All right, we'll move to the next. This is where kind of we went over this earlier. This was the requirement summary. You can see that they're in these broken down into each of the departments and then into that personnel, M&S, and capital overlay. Any questions regarding these analysis?
Is the reduction in the police department due to headcount?
Let's see here. Oh, the personnel reduction.
Well, no, it's the whole budget.
Well, their whole budget went down. We went through and we moved a lot of M&S out.
Expenses.
Yeah, so I went through and worked with the chief and we were able to push some things off to future years. Yeah.
So it was not that, to clarify that is not headcount.
No.
It is putting out expenses or postponing expenses and they could be postponed.
Yes, and just to Viva, to clarify on that too, in this proposal, there's no reduction in staffing as of today. So we're not proposing that we're reducing any staffing, but I do, just to have us all be on the same page, if we keep going down the same road that we're on today, there's going to come a point where we're going to have that conversation of reducing staff, and I'd like to avoid that. That's why I think getting ahead and looking at these different revenue streams or ways that we can do business differently will help us avoid that, because that is something that scares me as we start to look into the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
One comment. We have the lowest permanent tax base of any city that has a police department in the state. Just give you context of why finances are so tight.
We've been a frugal city.
Yes, and I mean, to dovetail on that, talking to our surrounding cities, other city managers, in some of the meetings that I've been privy to, everybody's got a very robust budget compared to ours. And we do an excellent job with the staff that we have. I'm so thankful to have them. They do such a good job with the reduction of our budget. But, you go right next door, Tigard has 65 officers budgeted. We have 7. So just to give an idea of just how much different we have to manage with what we have. Okay, anything else then on this page? Sorry, Rachel, I'm going to keep checking in with you so I don't miss you. Anything for you?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, now into the fun. Let's start talking about general fund dollars. So one of the things too, and I apologize if this is already news for you in the room, but the way that the funding works here is you have general fund dollars and then you have restricted fund. General fund is the money that we can spend on, this might be on maintenance, this might be on operations. These are the dollars that can kind of go anywhere. Then you get into the restricted fund that we'll talk about later on. So just want to lay that out of the difference between a general fund account to a restricted fund account. Restricted funds you would not use for personnel services. You would not use those for ongoing expenses. That's what our general fund is. So it's really important that we have general fund dollars that are able to pay for any of the operating and maintenance expenses that maybe come up in operating a city. So going through this, as you can see, there's this breaks down from the beginning fund balance all the way down into I can talk about too if folks have questions about the ARPA fund, which is be back at the end of the book here. That's the COVID money that we no longer have. And then it kind of breaks out all the different funding mechanisms. But are there any questions about our general fund proposal for next year?
Just a clarification.
Yes.
Our maintenance of city, like the parks, streets, does that come out of general fund, or do you have special allocated maintenance that you're looking ahead for each year? How do you handle that?
So it depends. It depends on what is being expensed, on what we can allocate to either a restricted fund or general fund. So for example, if I'm hiring an external contractor to go down and mow the yard at the park, that'd be general fund. So I'd have to take that out of general fund. If we were revamping the play equipment down at the park, I would use maybe like park SDC funds for that. So that'd be restricted funds, right? So it just depends on what we're doing and who's doing the work on how we can allocate that funding. Does that answer your question, Counselor?
Okay, I'm just thinking when we're looking ahead at maintenance of existing city.
General fund, that'd be general fund. O&M is general fund. Yeah.
But you don't specifically look at that long-term to see what maintenance costs are gonna be. For example, if we add any facility like a kayak launch
Mhm.
or the conceptual park under the transmission lines,
Yeah.
do you look ahead and budget for that long-term as far as maintenance costs for those things that we're planning to do?
Prior to my tenure, I don't believe so. That is something we are going to do in the future. It's very important to have O&M costs in order to maintain and then to forecast those. So one of the things that we're working on now is we're forecasting, like our personnel costs, those M&S costs. But like I directed kind of staff, if we're working on a capital project, I would like to see not only the cash flows for the funding for the project itself from preliminary design to turnover and service, but I also need to understand at about 60% design, you should be able to tell me what are the O&M assumptions for that project. So one of the things that we'll work with our contractors, and this is new, this is kind of a new concept here. Our team, just to kind of go back, our team has never done a forecasting exercise prior to, at least correct me if I'm wrong, prior to a budget. And so one of the things that we did this year was we put together a forecast, and we're working on that because we want to see the forecast into the future. The other piece of that will be for projects. Projects are going to have to show O&M costs so that I can bring that to all of you. So if we do the paddle launch, we don't know what the operating maintenance costs are today. In fact, we don't even know what the cost is to construct it because we haven't even gone through preliminary design up to maybe 90% design for that project to say this is how much it'll cost. This is how much it'll cost to maintain, and then this is how many FTE it might take to maintain it. But those are all things that have to be put into your assumptions for a capital project.
And we don't currently have any of those
No.
projects to budget for this year.
I
But
think
when
before prior years, we looked at that probably not as specifically.
Yeah.
But we talked about all that in the budget committee and we did, and plus we haven't had any. We talked about getting them in the last 10 years. We haven't had any.
And that's a good
And
point. It's
we have done some, like when, example, when we resurfaced the park and had the whole lawn, that was a capital improvement. We got a huge grant, so it didn't come out, but we did talk about the fact that it would reduce some maintenance. It would change maintenance and it would be cost effective in the maintenance. So it's been talked about, but probably not as specifically budgeted. So to stand up for the past years of when we've worked on this, we did look at that.
good. That's good to know. Well, and I think that we can take some of the stuff that we've done in the past too, and then just make it a process that, you should always be looking at operating and maintenance expenses, not just for projects that we're going to be doing, but that we're doing today. Right. And so that's one of the things, just to, not to harp on it, but we're looking at the public works individual that we're going to hire, that we're recruiting for now. And then we were looking at the cost of the maintenance down at the park, and we sat and talked, well, we have all the equipment. Let's find an individual that can do that work and then take that cost back. And then we don't have to pay that expense. But it is important to do. I mean, working at my previous employer, we would make the engineers put together O&M assumptions before we would even accept the project after 60% design.
I like,
When we
and I
redid
think
this
that should
bill,
be part of what you're looking forward, is to not have council approve a project until you actually understand what the long-term maintenance costs are going to be
Mhm.
for the rest of the citizens that'll have to support that. And if you don't have that planned,
Yeah.
then we're missing the boat in approving something before we know that. That's just a concern. I have.
a specific, when this building was remodeled, it was budgeted in for maintenance and housekeeping so that there would not be higher repairs. So it was extensively looked at.
Yeah.
And it was just documented. It was not documented as a special process. It was part of the whole thing. And that's why we have
We
housekeeping.
did this project for this building.
Mhm.
And we spent hours and hours talking about
Being able to maintain it and
Yes.
keep it and what kind of money you needed to do
and what
that.
kind
after
of
we
money
spent
we
the money.
should be planning for as technology changes.
Just to clarify, it was probably done, but done a different way.
Yeah,
And
no.
this building was a very good example of that, is that we purposely increased the housekeeping budget to keep the investment that we were putting into it.
And how long ago was that?
This was,
Was it?
no.
No,
14,
before that, we
15.
met down at the other.
Yeah, it
King
was,
City
it,
building.
they started, we finished approving it in 14. Before I got on the council, and then we were doing the follow-up when I got on the council in 17, when we were meeting down at the Crown. Center.
Pre-pandemic,
Yes,
but
pre-pandemic.
just barely.
Cause then the construction of this building was pandemic? Is that when this,
No, before.
2019? Okay.
Just,
I'm changing the subject, but I don't want to cut anybody else off on that. I just need an education on line 2.
Yeah.
Do I understand that you're just estimating funds you will not be able to collect, and that's why it's 50,000 you're allowing for? Okay. Thank you. That's all.
That's the core revenue billing form. The one we sent to collection company,
Okay,
was the debt, the bad debt. So we just assume it's over a certain amount of years, we just never.
you sort of know what it's gonna be. Okay.
And you send that to us collections, or do we just write it off?
We send to collection, after certain years, we write it off. That's why we budgeted, write off 50,000 next year.
and if you ever claim it, like if you ever get that money in.
Yeah.
It's not like it's to not, you just record it as kind of a prior old debt that we've got. Ooh, amazing, somebody
$25
got nailed and had to pay their debt.
But it's just a reality. You're
Sure.
always gonna
yeah.
have a certain amount of bad.
Yep.
Especially when all of
tickets
it comes from
Yeah.
your traffic and,
Yep.
and so without,
Oh,
there's a certain percentage that don't ever plan to pay.
Yeah, you're not gonna get
They're
that.
not driving with insurance.
So then, back to the community park.
Yeah.
So currently, we have maintenance done by an outfit that
Mhm.
we hired on contract.
Yes.
What do we pay them about, you know?
I want to say it's estimated 70, 80 a year, 70, 80,000 a year. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the idea is Public Works individual, I think I put it at like 40% of their time will be allocated to landscaping or parks and recreation. The goal is to have them, you know, like the thing we were out doing last week, 131st. Their job will be doing some of those things so that we don't have to pay an external consultant or business to take care of that. It'll just be part of their general duties.
And we have equipment down there in that shed.
We do.
don't we?
We have a very nice riding lawnmower. We have some other equipment out here. We have tractors. We have other things that our previous Public Works individual procured for us, which is great because then we can do some of that work ourselves.
And the people that are doing the maintenance community park now, do they use our equipment?
No.
or they bring their own?
No, they bring their own. Yeah,
They're the same ones that do the Edgewater.
they are.
And that's where
Mhm.
they were not, the prior people were not doing a good job. And a lot of complaints. And so that's when they went out to bid and the company that does the neighborhood does the Edgewater Community Center pays them for that and the city pays for our part. And there was a step up from it wasn't more money, it was step up in
In
service.
service.
But I'm sure it was just harder to get.
I just want to clarify, the HOA and our park are two different things. Right? They're two different companies.
Oh, we switched, at one point it was,
It's
I think it's Pacific who does, or I can't remember.
it's not the same one.
Edgewater HOA, and then we have a different contractor from Gresham, I think, somewhere over there that comes out.
That we've had for a few years.
Yeah,
And like you mentioned too, you know, just like with everything, we'll see if we can get that to work. If not, then we're gonna have to revert back to what we were doing. But if we're able to have somebody in-house do it, it gives us also the control. We get to control that a little bit more. So. Yes, Patty.
Line 19, you mentioned the ARPA fund. Would you please restate what you said about that?
Yeah, so ARPA fund, just to simplify it, was COVID money. This was money that the federal government gave. I want to say, how many years ago did that get? A few years ago, right? It went into the general fund. When did we get?
Let me get it.
21, 22, and then when did we bring it all into general fund? 23, 24?
Yeah.
So in 23-24, that money got brought into the general fund. So in theory, it was expensed. So it was brought into general fund and then expensed out. So it was already spent. We don't have any more ARPA funds.
Okay,
No.
that was my question
Yeah.
because it'll be eventually off one of the columns.
Yeah, and then exactly, and Mira and I just met with, what was it? We met with the feds, or we submitted our paperwork to the treasury a few weeks ago. So I'm assuming that we can take that probably off in the future budget next year. Yeah,
Because we have shown two.
2 years?
2 years prior, yeah, that's why we have that year transfer 690,000 out of ARPA fund to general fund. That's why this line item stood there under 23-24.
and now that it's been gone for 25-26, we'll take it off next year. Yeah,
Thank you.
yes. All right, any other questions before we go into departments? Okay, all right. Into the fund, the city council department. One thing just to note here that you'll see with the proposed budget for city council, the previous years, it seems that there's been quite an escalation due to legal services. So that's why you see a increase in those in that account. We have a reduced amount in legal, with also legal is spread or allocated to other departments as well. So
Starting in 26.
starting at 26, we had it all in one, I think it was all under city council,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
So then we moved it out of that. So that's why you'll see that reduced down, as it's some goes into city manager, some goes into police, some goes into other departments too.
In total,
Mhm.
is the legal service up or down budget wise?
Down.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
And we're seeing a trend too of it decreasing month by month. So we're starting to see over the last, I'd say 3-4 months, we're starting to see that decrease.
That was an unusual hiccup for a couple of years.
Well, and one thing that we did that we started this year, which has been really helpful, is I directed staff, because noticing that legal fees were going up so much, I have our city attorney come 1 day a week and we sit down with staff sits down with her. All the questions get out in one meeting. So then we're only billed for that 1 hour instead of having it independently be billed, with each person contacting that person. So that saved a lot, doing that.
And we only have one firm we're working with, or do we have?
No, we have multiple. So there's a lot. So you have the main one, which is our city attorney. Then we have, you could consider HR answers, or even, parts of HR answers could be a legal attorney that we're dealing with for personnel pieces. Then you have like Jordan Ramus, and they might handle maybe like the police, maybe during the municipal court, something goes to trial, or maybe it gets escalated and we need to seek legal advice. The city attorney, Missy, is kind of handles everything, but then when you get into specifics, like for instance, I had to hire an attorney to talk about franchise fees. And so I wanted to talk to a subject matter expert. So I went and hired that. So it just depends on what you're doing. Majority does go to our one city attorney, but there's a lot of attorneys on the bankroll. Yeah.
Okay.
Just so you have the numbers, it does, so from 189, 463 in 24-25, it goes down to 153 is the total in 25-26. You can't really see it. You have to add up all the numbers. And then in 26-27, it's 110 allocated. So that gives you the numbers of how we're bringing it down.
Good.
Do we pay Missy based on like attending city council meetings by the hour?
Every time we contact her, have communication with her, we get billed. So, and it comes in, I want to say 10 or 15 increments is what the billing rate is. But yeah, if she attends a city council meeting, we get billed an hourly rate for that. Phone calls, that was one of the strategies of saying, if we can bring her in 1 day a week, then it just reduces it down to that. Yes.
General rule is, 6-minute increments.
Is it 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about emails then?
Emails too.
Also.
Yep.
So that's why I think you mentioned, or maybe Rachel mentioned here a while back, that we need to, as city council, make sure we don't call or email the city attorney.
That's why I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Filter them through me, and then we can filter those. The other thing too is just don't think about that in the lens of the city attorney. Think about in the lens of our contractors. So our engineering firm, if we reach out to our engineering firm, it's the same structure. So emails, phone calls, every time that they're doing work for us, they bill us. So if we have a question that we want to ask about, you know, and this is a great learning opportunity. If, you know, the city council directs the city manager to say, you know, Vinny, look into the median on 131st. When are we getting that removed? Just me inquiring with our contractor will cost us money. So that's where we just have to be diligent and know that we're strategizing of when we're getting things done, how we're getting them done. And so that we can kind of keep an eye on these costs because they can go through the roof really quick. Yeah.
This could be something we might have to do a supplemental budget on if something unexpected
Exactly.
happens, right? And because it's very tight. So if something unanticipated comes up, we would have to do a supplemental budget, including potentially union negotiations, because the union contract is up. And so that could go smoothly and not require anything, but if there's a lengthy back and forth, we could have some extra
Didn't
legal
we do
bills
that
there.
last year or the year before?
Yeah.
Just for 1 year. So that,
Well, it was a catch up.
yeah, it was a catch up. So it expires in 2027. We have to start those negotiations and I'll probably start entertaining those probably around September, October, maybe a little bit earlier.
They're yearly?
No, so it's usually about 3 years. It depends on your contract. You could have
Yeah.
a 2-year, 5-year, 2-year, 10-year, whatever. Our contract is 3 years. And so, but because like Katie was saying, they extended it and they did the catch up, now it expires in 27. That's something for everybody to be very aware of. Collective bargaining agreements can very much throw a lot of the personnel costs out of whack. Because every time, once you have a something that's been bargained, you can't take that away without giving something up. So it's always this game of give and take, give and take, give and take. As you can see how tight our budget is, it makes it a very interesting process. So it's anyway,
And you have to stay competitive.
very competitive.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There are rules in terms of various kinds of positions, and you do a comparison with like cities. And any stay in that range or you get yourself
Do
in.
we need a comfort break? We've been here.
Oh, that's a good idea, Viva. Yeah.
Could I just
Yes.
ask one question related to this before we break?
Yeah.
Can you just talk about the types of expenses that go into special department expenses and why that went down 40,000?
Yeah, so special department expenses, one of the things is, for instance, like the newsletter. Newsletter was a huge part of that. We pulled that out because one of the things is we're looking at digital, and then the other thing is these are newsletters too that are for like public hearings, right? Not just for, or are these the ones that are the newsletters for? Yeah. The other thing that we're looking at for those newsletters is partnering with our utility billing companies. I had an idea to see if maybe they can slip the newsletters in the utility bill instead of us independently mailing those out to save some money. So that's why that's reduced down. Because we spend a lot of money on those mailers.
Was that 40,000 that we were able to cut out just from the newsletters?
Just from the newsletters.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to communicate.
Yes. And just trying to be more efficient with our communication. So,
What percentage of the legal fees, just a quick one here,
yeah.
is our city attorney?
So that are the city attorney?
Okay.
If we get you a number after the comfort break.
We'll go back to you. Yes.
All right.
I like where Viva's going with this. All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back. What should we say? How long do you need? You want 10 minutes? 10 minutes then. We'll be back at 11:36.
But 10:46.
I'm sorry, 10:46. Jeez. Oh my God. I need a cover. Oh, yes. You turn the thing onto Ronnie, okay, perfect.
We'll call this back to order and hopefully, we had one answer. Maybe Katie can respond to Gary's good questions.
So Gary, you asked, what is the percentage of our legal fees that are related to Missy, our city attorney? And through March, it was 65% of our total legal expense. Yes, which if you have access to Cassell Online, you look at the legal fee line item, you can see each bill for each, and it's would be Bateman. That's what we determined that was the legal, yeah, that's the name of the company
Bateman.
that
Yeah.
she's with. So if you want to look at those specific expenses, that's it.
I like, as you mentioned, Cassell, I think there has been a long learning curve not much help from Cassell to get it there, very little help from the CPA to incorporate this, but we're finally getting the return on the investment we did to get a citywide operating system, and Cassell's starting to get it. We're getting more out of it. And with any software, there's probably opportunity to get more. And I know you guys are looking into it, which that's cool that we're getting there. We want to thank you. I'm speaking for the city council members that I've heard. I'm able to see stuff now. And
Everybody
it
here
really
is in
helps.
so.
I haven't made sure everyone can get in. I don't,
Just council, isn't it?
yes.
Just council right
I'm
now.
not sure if you've been able to log in. I think everyone else has logged in.
No,
I'm
yeah,
happy.
probably,
Okay.
when I
Happy.
go on vacation,
Happy
we should
with-
probably,
I trust you.
I won't go into it now. but
There's a
we might
continual
be able to
learning
get-
curve and all the
Not in
counselors.
once, but under a unique kind of setting. And so I think we need to make sure
Do it
we're
again.
doing it under the proper one.
The more, do touch it. If you don't touch software, you forget it. And none of us are getting younger. And so I do encourage you, look once a week. If you can't do it once a week, at least twice a week, so that some of those are in your muscle memory. You don't have to, it doesn't take you as long. And just if you're just looking. So that's why I'm
Absolutely.
encouraging you guys to use that, Cassell, so that the taxpayers get more return on their investment.
Yeah, and to build trust, right? Because I think too, in a budget, you might see things in a budget line item that says miscellaneous. And I think people get a little curious on, well, what is miscellaneous? What are you putting in there? And the way that I've always managed a budget, if you're buying office supplies, you wouldn't have a line item for the stapler, for the staples, for the, pens. You put everything under office miscellaneous. And so, like Viva said, empower you, go and see what we're spending the tax dollars on. See where money is going and where it's flowing. And if you have questions, you've got a great budget team here to answer those for you.
We
Okay.
don't charge by the app.
Yeah.
We do have a,
First.
Yeah.
I have a minimum commit and I do my darndest to stay at that, to not have overage. Sometimes there's overages, like exciting things are happening, but my goal is to give you the full value without going over. So
That's
that's
a good question.
my-
to Ask Mira or Vince.
Yeah.
And then they'll probably know. If they don't know, then it's either something, maybe it's not important, then you can say that, or then they talk to Katie.
Absolutely.
What is your minimum?
15 hours.
A week,
A month.
15, okay.
Yeah.
15 hours a month free from.
Yeah, and then we keep her busy.
It's probably hard to keep under 15.
Yes, Pat.
I get it.
Acknowledging how tight our budget is, and it's great, is there any opportunity for us to have a charitable segment set aside? The reason I'm wondering is because a couple of years ago, Heather Waken, who happens to be a police officer in Tigard,
Yeah.
who's a resident of Edgewater, she did a great presentation in front of city council asking for money for the parade. And I thought we all were very happy about that. And as our city continues to grow, that be a segment?
I'll talk about that. You really need a nonprofit, and Heather has been working on getting a nonprofit.
Yeah.
The city can't just give money to somebody asking. We have to give it to somebody who has a
501c3.
Yes.
recorded number with a record, like there's a form that city has to take, that nonprofit has to fill out a W-9 and said, this is our tax number. You can't do it to a person. And so the city has picked up the slack to try to get those events going when the King City Community Foundation was part of the debacle of recalling a mayor.
Well, and just to add to that, we might not be giving money next year to an organization, but the city is contributing money to the 4th of July event. We're going to be, sanitation is going to come from the city. So there'll be porta potties that we're paying for. We're paying for a large canopy tent, like a 40-foot canopy tent for people to stay cool under, tables, chairs, and then staff time. So we do contribute a good portion of money to the event. But to answer, a charitable, an actual charitable line item, I think we would need to think about that a little bit more and of how that would work. Does it go to any charity? Does it go to something specific? who are we looking at it kind of allocating money towards? Yeah,
Good.
for what event? But
Thank you.
yeah.
Related question.
Yeah.
Since we do have such a small personnel budget, are there perhaps things that we could request volunteers to do? Because there's, a lot of retired people in the city with a lot of professional expertise, things like writing grants. I'm not sure what, beautifying, areas that need, a little landscaping help, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to post volunteer projects.
Yeah, I would say, the first is council needs to direct the city manager to look into that. So that's the first thing. So we need to have a city councilor sponsor that, bring that forward. The other thing is we just need to be cognizant of working with the city attorney and because everybody is into the CBA, there's only 4 employees, myself, Mira, the police lieutenant, and then the police chief that are exempt right now. Everybody else is a union member. So we just need to make sure that we're not taking duties away from somebody or causing any grievances for the city. But I am with you. We've talked a lot about this, about, we are living in a community where there's a lot of people that probably want to volunteer their time and maybe have the time to do it. So absolutely. I think there's a huge opportunity here to have people help out. The other thing too is I think about my daughter. I have an older daughter that has to do service projects. She's going to do service projects for school. There's an opportunity for us to have that too, to be able to bring young people in to maybe do a service project here. But yeah, I would say the biggest thing is council directing that to the city manager and then the city manager looking into that. But I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Any other comments for anybody? Okay. Now we'll go through, let's move on to city manager department. Kind of like we already talked about, that you'll see the increase from the adopted budget for the proposed budget. But you can kind of see a lot of that too, is just bringing in personnel into our department and then moving some things around and then reducing as well. We did a pretty big reduction in materials and services for city manager in the hope that we can save some of those costs from the public works position.
I just have one question. Traditionally, city councilors have been allowed to go to meetings, whether it's West Side Economic Alliance, which is just buying breakfast, or going to state meetings or the Washington meeting, LFC meeting. I'm not seeing money allocated for those kinds of things. And the reason I'm asking the question is, I'll give an example. I went to the meeting in DC. We were able to talk to our federal legislators, but I found out an opportunity about a grant for a major water project, which I brought back, and Tiger was able to get that grant, and it allowed us to pay a big chunk of cost of a new water reservoir that was really important.
Yeah.
And my concern is it's really important to have that communication between at the local level, the state level. It provides opportunities to learn, for example, major grants that might be needed for infrastructure. And I'm concerned that I know we have a tight budget, but I think it's really important to have funding to get people to go to these kinds of meetings, at least at the local and state level.
So I would say we do have that. We have about $15,000 between the membership dues and fees and then the training, travel, and substance. And so that would go towards exactly what you're saying. If there is additional opportunities that came up that went over that, we would do a supplemental budget then to cover that.
Yeah.
But I would say we do have about $15,000.
I know you have some,
Yeah.
but I know how expensive it is I got sent to the Washington meeting every year.
Yeah.
And I know how expensive that was. So I want to make sure that council particularly is aware of how important those kinds of interactions are and provides opportunities for.
Well, I think it goes to Gretchen with, and I think Rachel, you have your hand, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think there's also a fine line though between, yes, we should be going to those and it would be great to have a meal or travel covered, but I think that's something that would have to be approved if it's not something that is our committee that we're assigned to, because then I think it might fall in the line of like a benefit, which we don't get. So I think that there still has to be a process of when we go to what and how that's approved.
Well, of course, you have the process. I'm just making sure that we're all aware of how important those kinds of interactions are.
Well, and I think if there is too, and I think with both of your comments, right, I think there's, you know, we have the budget or the counselor's assignments and then the travel that goes along with that for the ones that would go on those travels. But like I mentioned before, if there is something that because I do see a lot of value. I mean, Jan going to the LOC conference with me, there was a lot of value in her being there, and her and I mean, she got to introduce me to people too that I didn't know. That I was able to have those introductions, which, you know, like the Portland State one, I think it was a great example of you introducing me to that individual that now him and I are in communication. But yeah, we would, if we needed to, we would do allocate money through supplemental to bump that up. If there was a training that we weren't able to find it within the city council's budget. Yeah. Yes, Linda, sorry.
Line 15,
Okay.
just curious, 2,000, I think, okay, nice, it's gone down, but what remodeling might you be doing for 2K?
So what that is that the remodel project is what we're in right now. When they purchased the building, they remodeled it. So then there was a cost to that. The $2,000 is just things that come up that we might still have to pay attention to in this building that pertain to the remodel. But you can see it's drastically gone down where 17,000 and 50,000 and 5. We don't really have anything planned, but we have money in there just in case if we needed to grab it.
I just wondered if you were putting a sink in or something.
No. There's nothing planned.
Thank you.
48,000 that year,
Yeah.
24, 25, that was the roof replacement.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
But the money for the sound system come from?
That came this year. That's not in this budget because we already paid for that this year in 26. Yeah,
25,000 in city council, 25, 26.
that came out of your city council budget too. Yeah.
Sound system.
But no, we're not anticipating any more sound system expenses for this room in 27. So.
I see legal services under city manager department. And the difference between that and city council is what?
So when you get a counselor, when you get a bill, if you think, when the city attorney sends us a bill, she'll have who she's speaking with and what that money is being spent on. So then we allocate it to those specific departments. So if it's the city council that's asking Missy a question, then that would come out of your city council legal fees. If it's me, the city manager, that I'm speaking with Missy or I'm directing or asking her something, it would come out of my budget.
So you did allocate it.
Yeah, so we're just making it more specific of who's asking those requests of where it lands. Because you'll see in each of these as we go through, each of them will have a legal line. So that's how we figure out where that money goes. Yeah. All right, are we good to move on? Okay. Finance and planning department.
I have a question.
Yes, Greg.
Vera, how much of the budget, I know what Max's job is, but in your finance, I'm having a senior moment, can't remember your partner's name there in your office. Diana, well, I couldn't remember her. Is she considered finance?
Yes.
So 100% of her
Correct.
salary is in the finance?
Originally, before next year budget, so even this year, we allocate everything personnel in finance and planning department. So just 20% of city manager's salary and benefit to city manager department. But for starting from next year, we allocate 100% city manager's salary and benefit to city manager department. That's why you see a huge increase and in finance, right? 781,000 out of finance department allocate to city manager and public information officer, and just allocate, we restructured it, so, yeah. that's
Okay, I
what
just was,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and for those of you that just like me weren't here last year, the city manager's time was coming out of finance. There's only like 20% of it that was being posted into the city manager. Like we said earlier, we simplified it and just brought all my salary into the city manager department, brought all of Ronnie's salary into the city manager's department. So that's why you're seeing this reduction here. And then there was other people too that kind of got, as we get into the restricted funds, you'll see there is time that we can also, we can charge to specific restricted funds to get some money back. So like admin fees and others that we can try to offset some of our general fund. Yes, Linda.
What falls on, Liney, what falls under professional services?
The big one is the new development deposit, also accounting service and engineering service from council,
Like CPA.
the city,
Yeah.
City engineer, planning.
So Consort's our engineering firm. They do all of our, because we don't have an in-house engineer, so they do all of our engineering for us.
Special department?
Special department.
Well, this is the other thing too, Linda, that you're hinting on is the charter of accounts. When we go through that this next year, we're going to go through each of these line by line, and then there'll be some massive restructuring. The thing you have to be very cautious of though, when you do that, is if there's a line item that's created now in the system, like in Cassell, right? That says contract services, and you go back and you change that. And let's say you're like, well, I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to roll that up and do another line item. You would have to know that if you go and search something under that year, that might not exist in the future. You'd have to know that it existed in the past. Yeah. In order to pull it from the general ledger.
So maybe we want more of a definition that's going in there, not like you can footnote it and say,
Of what it
this is
is.
the type of expenditures
Yeah.
that we are putting in there. And then you don't have, then you get the history and you're just defining it.
Yeah.
And that
would
helps.
help.
And this goes back to kind of my GFOA comment of the Government Financial Officers Association of they actually have people that go through and review your budget and they grade it. And then they tell you how you're, if you're doing it, to standard or not. And so that's something that we're all excited to start that this year.
Okay, thank you.
So line 13,
Okay.
a dramatic difference, isn't there, between the last two prior and now the budget?
Line 13, are you looking at the elections?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, is, there has been recalls and other things that have occurred that or special elections, and we're not anticipating any of those this year.
I think the recalls were the only special elections we've had.
That
And
was
they cost us money.
they cost a lot of money.
They cost a lot of money.
Yep.
So the cost there, is that for postage or legal expense?
You have to pay the county and everything.
Are you saying the $5,000 that we have there now?
The prior 2 years.
Oh, the prior 2 years.
17.
Oh, those are public notices. I mean, public notices alone, just sending those out could cost you for one public notice, I mean, $7,000 to $9,000, just depending on the mailers, because you have to have a mailer for each resident. And so that gets expensive. That was one of the reasons when we talked about the mayor earlier, when I was going to send out public notices, we didn't have funding to do that. So it was, what are other ways that we could do that? Or if I had to do it, what would I have to reduce to cover that cost? So it's, but those public notices can be very expensive. Yeah.
Isn't it like $5,000 that we have to pay the county to get on there?
Well, you have to pay, there's county fees, and then you also have to look at the, because you have to have, it's like the Oregonian or the, I forget the actual.
You have to have it published in a
Published,
publishing, but I
you know,
thought we had
legal-
to pay the county.
Yes,
A
It's
fee.
sort of legal, paper general distribution.
that's what it is.
And aren't they updating that or changing that potentially? Because I think you can also, in addition to.
I don't think it's
something
gonna
on the
save you the
internet,
money.
Yeah.
Oh, do the internet? Well, and even when you,
website.
yeah, and when you get to those two, you still have to have, you're still paying for an external partner to manage your electronic newsletter service, mailers, whatever that is. Woodburn does that, and they went fully electronic, but they pay a service to manage all of that. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Is that
it does.
your, okay.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. You mentioned.
But it is, I mean, I empower you all. If you look at, it's fascinating. I mean, we've spent, I don't, probably like 40 hours on this thing. But if you go back and you look at it, it kind of tells you a story a bit. And it should get you to ask me questions. You know, if when we get down to billing department, you'll see some on here too that might get you to go, well, why did it increase so much? Or why is it decreasing so much? Those are really good things to see. And every line item will tell you a story as it increases or decreases of what is going on and why that's happening. So, sorry, I get excited with budgets. Okay, so I think everybody in the office knows too that now the saying is, you know, do we have a budget for that? And so I've gotten that into everybody's head. Okay, is there anything else on finance planning? Can we move on or? Okay, all right, building department.
The big increase is the contract services.
Building permit.
Those are building permits, yeah. And one thing to just know, and it's not, you're not going to see it necessarily here, you'll see it in other areas, is as, you know, we go back to talking about the one-time only, you know, revenues to the continuous revenues. And what I mean by that is you'll see our revenues year over year do this kind of up and down motion, right? They go up some years, they go down, and that could be maybe we applied for a grant and we got some restricted funding. Well, it'll show our revenues go up. The other one is plan reviews. When we're doing developments and we have plan reviews done, we charge a fee for that. So we get a fee. Over the last few years, we've been doing a lot of plan reviews. So you've seen the revenues on the plan reviews and they've gone up. This next year, we only have about $20,000 is what we're anticipating to get in planning review. It is dramatically going down. So that is the thing you have to be very cautious of, is if you start looking at that revenue stream and you're going, oh, look, we have all this money coming in. You cannot put that to personnel. You can't put that to ongoing expenses like maintenance. You would need to put that aside for capital, because that's money that is only going to be there for that time. And that's where we talked about earlier about O&M costs, right? O&M costs need to come out of general fund. And so I just wanted to throw that out there since we're talking about the building department. Is there any questions though on the building department itself? There's not too many line items on this, but anybody need clarification on the contract services or anything like that?
Just why is it going down so much?
Which one,
The
Counselor?
Permits. You said.
So on the planning review, on the plan reviews, those are going down because we don't have any coming in. We don't have any developers coming and saying, review our plans. The Risewell's already started their phase 1. They're already moving towards that. We won't see anything until the phase 2 comes on.
Okay.
So it's just, we're kind of in this, you're kind of in a holding pattern. So it kind of goes, maybe you'll flush for a few years and then you go into a holding pattern and then flush again. And then once those developments are built out, we have to anticipate that money is going to go away. And you could see our revenues dramatically decrease after everything is built out based on that.
By section, as they move to the next phase of their development, you'll see more come in. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So, right.
Yeah.
If the big revenue was that the fees that a developer has to pay to get their development approved.
Yeah.
And that's a one-time set of fees. And with the economy slowing down, development is going to be moving more slowly.
Yeah, especially due to gas prices and everything else.
Isn't it true that conversely though, those SDC fees that the city gets, you know, the numbers go down, but when they build a house, somebody buys it, occupies it, now we get the tax that, so we get that tax.
Yes.
It's the 2-year lag.
That's the game of the lag, right? Because like right now, if you think about it, if you have a 10-year stretch, there's about a 3 to 4 year period that we have to solve, because money will be depleted while we're waiting for this to come in. So what do we do in this kind of lull that we're going to be finding ourselves in? And then the other thing is there's a difference between like the SDC fees being restricted funds, and then your planning review money or the money you get from permits. Those are general fund dollars. So that can be spent in general fund. The money that you're talking about, Counselor, is restricted funds, which might be a park SDC. So maybe you have that money put away for a future park acquisition, like maybe a property acquisition or something, and you'd put it there. But that money can only be used specifically for that reasons. And then you get into another thing about that I'm learning about SDCs and escrow. where then money goes into an escrow account because of a negotiation that maybe was set with the builder, and the builder says that we're gonna build a park. So then money gets thrown into this escrow account, kind of like the 7 acres that they're gonna build out on Risewell over there by Beef Bend. When they get to that, that's where they'll take that money for the park, and then they'll build it, then we have to maintain it. So it's kind of like that relationship that we have with the builders. Okay, if there's nothing else on building department, I'm gonna keep moving. Municipal court.
I have a question. The
Yes.
salaries and is that just our judge, or is there more going into that?
I believe the salaries for this one is just the judge, because Sam comes. Oh, court clerk. That's court clerk. So that's just the court clerk, not the judge.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't think his salary was that, but and so then why is it going down from 90 to 77?
Because next year we budgeted 3/4 time.
Yes.
Of her time, she's 3/4 time, she's not full time. So the
Yep.
current year.
Sam is going to 3/4, is that what you said?
Well, no, sorry, Mira. One thing so Sam's a three-time employee. She's not full-time, so she's part-time. The thing is, there was longevity pay. Sam's been an employee here for about 20 years. So
Yeah.
there was longevity pay that kicked in last year that won't be in this year. So that's why you saw the cost escalation go
Okay.
up, and then it'll go back down. It'll level back out.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Because everybody, per the CBA and the collective bargaining agreement, there's certain kind of like bonuses that trigger for based on the time that people have been here that have working. So if they hit a milestone, and don't hold me to this, I'm just saying arbitrarily, let's say it's like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. When they hit those milestones, you'll see a trigger. And so that can cause personnel costs too to escalate. So they might go up because now they get their 5 or 10 year bonus. So
There was the retro plus the longevity bonus
and that
together.
retro pay, yeah. Okay, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of questions on the next one. Anything else on Muni Court? No? Okay, let's move on then to our biggest one, the police department.
I have a question.
Yes,
How
Gretchen.
much of the police budget comes in under our standard $1.52 permanent rate versus this chunk that comes from the local option levy?
Can you, how much of it is it covered by the local option?
465 is covered by the local option levy, so 465,000, and then there's
Not about 40%. Or just a.
just you're saying for how much of the local option cover of the total
How much-
costs
yeah,
of the
how much
budget?
is the
Yeah, it's
local
about
option
40%. It doesn't cover even half.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tells me we're gonna have to look at raising that rate.
Well, and think about this, and that's today. We still have what, 4 years left on that levy, I want to say. So in 4 years, and this will, when we're ready to bring this to council, and show that escalation, you're gonna see how much of the escalation on personnel services, including our police department, what that's gonna look like from today in 5 years. And it's going to increase quite a bit. Just the escalation from the cost of living increase, which is 4% a year. You have step increases, you have longevity pay, you have certificate pay. All these things together include in that package will then cause that number to go up. And like we mentioned earlier in the collective bargaining, we won't see it go down. We're only going to see it continue to go up. So we have to plan for that.
So that really means that by the time this local option levy is depleted, we will only be recovering probably 23% of the cost of the police department through the local option levy.
Absolutely. And something to think about today too is, we have 7 police officers, including our command staff. The city's growing. If we're going to be paying X amount of dollars with the same staffing we have today at a 63 cents per 1,000 assessed, that's just something to keep in mind. If you want to grow your police department and have more police services for the community, we have to plan for that, because it's gonna a 7-person police department. Your budget is $2 million. What does that mean if we doubled in size?
And there's no way to go back and add to a local option
No.
levy.
Nope.
Have to
All
just
you-
wait it out.
We're gonna have to do a lot of advertising to the public about how the gap is getting bigger and bigger so that they're prepared when the next,
Exactly.
when the renewal comes up.
And by the next time the renewal is, we should have a lot more homes contributing to that, right?
You should. There'll be the lag. The problem is though, is if we have a deficit to fix or to address today, those new homes might address what we have today. What about the growth? Where do we get, you know, an extra $2 or $3 million to hire just 7 more officers? So that's going to be the challenge of, you know, because now we're just talking about the police. What about public works? What about parks and rec? What about the front office staff? What about finance and increasing our finance staff? So this is why, you know, when we sit down and have our strategic planning session where we're looking at the future for the next 10, 15, 20 years, and then we start putting plans together to start thinking about that so that when it's time, when I need to hire staff and increase that to be able to have our city function and operate how it should be, we're more than ready for that. But those are the things that keep me up at night, is that we don't have enough money coming through the door to maintain what we have today. How are we going to have enough to maintain what we have in the future? Even with those new homes coming in, there's a lot more services that are going to need to be provided with that new area and the new homes too. So just something to keep in the back of our heads. Okay. Going back to the police, is there anything, you know, line item wise, there was, like I said, significant reduction. You know, looking at materials and services, we reduced some things. You'll see kind of the same kind of trend with the personnel services. There was substantial payout to staff. What was it, a year ago? Was that roughly?
Yeah.
In 26. So that's why you maybe see some decrease coming into this next year, is the one-time only payments and then the longevity pay. Yes. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Gretchen.
I have a question. Where do we, vehicle, I don't see us having any item for vehicle.
No, we don't have one. We need to develop a replacement schedule. We don't have a replacement schedule right now. But one thing that an option to look into that we could look into in the future, if I get directed, is going back to a lease buyback and looking at a lease buyback instead of spending a vehicle outright, $70,000 and then getting it upfit. Do a 3-year cycle replacement where every 3 years we do a cycle. You buy the car back for a minimal amount and then you turn around and sell it to another agency that we have an agreement with. Those are options too that we can look at. But yeah, we just purchased a vehicle last year. It came this year. It's outfitted. It's now on the street. So we have a new vehicle, but we need to do a replacement cycle because right now I don't think we really have a true replacement cycle of when we're.
That really concerns me. That's something that council needs to direct to develop that kind of plan, because cars can die and the cost of the cars are just going.
And the maintenance too, you know, we have these old Fords out here, our police cars, and if a water pump goes or something else goes, that could be anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 in a repair. And then we have a car offline too. Then that loses a policeman patrolling or police officer. So
Rachel had a question.
Yeah, so sorry, Rachel, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. A couple things. So related to that, that's something that we can discuss in our strategic planning, right? Just to be able to develop that.
Yeah.
The question that I had is related to the decrease in the materials and services. So is there like a protocol in place to make sure that the police department does have all the necessary things that they're going to need over the course of the year, like their replacement vests? Like, is there already a protocol in place for everything that they need to stock their vehicles and everything? And this reduction is not going to leave them without necessary things they need when they're out on calls.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that the way that we did the reduction is we went through and we looked at the previous 3 years for the expense on those line items. So then we adjusted it to just show a little bit of cost escalation. But that really helped reduce some of those numbers down. The other thing is we went through and we talking with the police, they purchased tasers this year. Why would we have a line item for tasers? We don't need that. So I took that off. Handguns, they don't need new handguns this year. So we took that off. It was things like that of working with the police department to see, you know, if they just procured something, why would we keep that as a line item and budget for it? There's no need for that. So there was just a lot of cleanup that we went through. So it wasn't necessarily, I caution, and that's on me. I'd caution me using the word reduction. I'm not slashing their budget. I just made it more, we improved it and went through and made it more concise. So it's going through things and instead of budgeting a line item for $30,000 and going, well, you've only expensed $12,000 in this every year, escalate it by 3%, and then that's your budget for next year.
But we're
We
sure
don't-
that 12,000 spent provided everything that was needed. Like when we went through that, it was like, we do have enough
There's
XYZ. Like, what is that process to make sure maybe that we
that-
were underspending potentially in certain areas?
Well,
I
it sounds like and correct me if I'm wrong, what you're getting more into is an audit being done about what are the things that either we're lacking that we need to buy or that we should be purchasing. We go through that every so many years. In fact, they're going through one right now with CIS. So there could be things that pop up in that they could say, you might need to have these in the vehicles or these need to be replaced on a certain cycle and things like that, best practices, and then we would apply those. But no, we worked with the chief and the command staff to go through and make sure, from uniform replacements to vehicle expenses. The one thing I did pull out is we did pull out, because we have new vehicles, kind of the maintenance costs. I don't want us to assume that we're going to have, like, if a vehicle goes down, we need to fix it. We'll do a supplemental budget and find the money in another underspent account to be able to fix that. I don't want to just be holding money though out there just for the what ifs. If it happens, it happens, and we'll address it. If there's things that they need, then we'll make sure that they have them. But I would say everything that's budgeted is based on the needs of what they told us that they need for the field. But
Okay.
there's nothing that I'm seeing on here. And the things that we reduced, just to give you a large line item, $30,000 came off of capital for their tough books. And that's a hard one because they do have aging equipment. But that's one that we can push and make those assets sweat just a little bit longer while we try to figure out some other things. Because the game that we run into is if we don't make those reductions, then we got to look at potentially laying off a staff member, and in order to make that whole. So we went through with the chief and the lieutenant and working with them to figure out what are the things that you absolutely need for next year, what are the nice to haves, and then what are the wish list items that would be great, but we don't necessarily need them right now. So, but they'll have all the tools that they need, and I've told them too, if we need to do a supplemental, throughout the year because overtime costs or something else went up that we didn't anticipate, we'll look into that and we'll make sure that they're taken care of. So, but as you can see, I mean, our budget, we don't have much in material and services. We don't have much in capital. Our money mostly is in personnel. And so that's the challenging piece of managing a budget like this is when you're going through, you have to be very strategic of what to reduce, how to reduce it, because then you get to the point where there's certain things that we all said we cannot reduce that. We have to keep those. And then it gets down into personnel, unfortunately. So I do have a plan. I am a worst case planner, and my wife hates it, but I always look at the worst scenario possible. So I've already started to develop a plan with Katie and Mira on what would it look like if we had to reduce staff, and what would it look like if we needed to lay people off. So I already kind of have a plan in place. Luckily, we didn't have to propose that to you folks right now, but we do have something if we needed to go down that road that we could. So.
Does our contract with the police allow you to reduce hours in a situation without cutting? So you cut back hours, like part-time?
I'd have to look. I don't think so. I think they have to be 40-hour-a-week employees. I know that they have reserve officer positions that we can pay for, and that's something to look at to maybe if we were to bring people on at a reduced cost. Getting in and being a former policeman, I know this from experience. Getting rid of a police officer is a big deal. We already only have 7, and we get rid of one more. That is a huge reduction in services to the community. That means that we might, 24-hour service, that goes away. Petty thefts, we probably won't be able to respond to those. Certain crimes, we wouldn't be able to address with just even one officer down, which can really make a difference. So those are the things that we're trying to avoid. Does that answer your question, Rachel? Just want to make sure I answered it.
Yep.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Vincent,
Yes.
we have 5,400 people in the city, apparently. That's the average.
Yeah.
That works out to be 771 people per officer. As a comparison, in Tigard, there's 60,000 people with 65 officers. That works out to be 935 people. If we were to add another officer with the increased population we have, that's going to put us over 1,000 people per officer. We can't afford to cut anybody.
Do you know what the
That's
national
our-
average is? It's like gosh, I want to say it's something like 1.5 or 2 officers per 1,000 residents.
And we can't ever drop below that.
And that's and everybody strives to get there. Nobody ever gets there, right? Because of what you're saying. But that's the it's like 2 officers is what we should be at per 1,000.
That is
That's like the bottom.
that's the.
Yeah, but
bottom.
people can't even get to that.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. Those are the things that I think it's good for us to, and I know it's kind of derailed a little bit of our budget meeting, but I think it's good to have those educational moments of we're facing a crisis and we're just getting into it. And we are looking at potentially, you know, like we're saying, we're going to probably be operating in a deficit next year. But the good thing is, like we've talked about, is we've identified it now. So now now it is, how do we fix it? How do we move forward into the future and come up with creative and innovative ways for us to do that? And like Veva, you made up some great comments on that too. Like we've had the discussion today about talking about gas tax, talking about other streams of revenue. I mentioned the franchise fees. So again, I'm gonna keep asking that one of you propose and direct me into looking at those at the next council meeting. And then I can go ahead and put together a comprehensive plan that will mirror and pair very well with our strategic planning process. Okay.
Where does the motel tax come in?
When does it come in?
No, where, like what, like if we wanted to increase that, how would you do it? Because there's potential that we could have that available that someday in the other area down there, motel, maybe we go in, or maybe Airbnbs. How do you raise that rate?
You direct me to look into it and then I'll look into it. No, but that would be my answer to it is I wish I had the answer off the cusp, but I don't. No, exactly. But this is the strategic plan that we're going to be doing here in a month, less than a month now, is it's things just like that. This city is growing and there's going to be opportunities within that growth. How do we take advantage of that? You know, being in a lot of these meetings that I'm in, man, some of these city managers, they're so strategic on the things that they do. And it's really inspiring to be around them and watch the city councils. You go to LOC and some of the mayors that get up there, the things that they're talking about. And it just gives you, it gives you a lot of hope. And it makes you go, man, there's people that are figuring out their problems. We can too. So we'll get there. Once I get directed to, I'll put together that comprehensive plan. And that'll be one of the things that we'll look at. Yes, Gretchen.
Another possibility, I was talking about traffic tickets between 116th and Fisher. Also, when they did the improvements to Beef Bend Road back in the mid-90s, for some reason, Tigard annexed the corner. And we found out about it when former mayor wanted to put a sign saying, you know, the King.
Welcome to King City.
Welcome to King City. That corner is in Tigard. And that means we don't get the traffic ticket revenue from Beef Bend down to Royalty. So it seems to me that council it'd be a good thing for council to direct the city manager to get Tigard to de-annex that little, it's about 50, 60 square feet, so that we could annex it and we'd be able to start getting the traffic ticket revenue.
Why would they do that?
Huh?
We need to trade something with them.
Oh,
You have
They
to
have-
offer
we
something.
didn't even know they have it.
Really?
We didn't know about it until we were gonna put the sign up. And I went and said it at a public meeting, and their then planning director, I don't have time to worry about something like that. And he's been since replaced, but these are kind of simple things that could help.
So more revenue streams we can all think of to direct to the city council that they can think about and direct the city manager. It would be helpful because we're getting to those times.
Yeah, I think
We're ready for street fund?
well, yeah, I'd say if we're ready, let's move on to street
Line
fund.
item 23, I had a question on the vehicle.
Oh.
That's when I added on there.
Oh, sorry, we have PIO and then we have the requirement summary.
Oh, yeah, I skipped
Yes.
that stuff.
Sorry, go ahead. Any questions on those, Counselor?
He said they're not buying any cars this year.
No, the question is, the 70,000, is that a completely outfitted cost? Or is there additional cost?
The 70,000 is a complete outfit. The vehicle itself, I want to say, is like 56,000 or 60,000, and then it was like 10 or 12,000 to do the lights. Yeah, it was something like that for
Okay,
the,
just
for the
for
vehicle. But yes, that was total vehicle. They're not cheap.
We're buying new cars, right?
Hmm?
We're not buying, we're buying them, we're not leasing them.
We're buying them now, but we will look into leasing because that is a, you can save some money doing that.
Cash flows.
Yes, exactly.
This
And you
is
sell them
money.
back and you make some money. All right, street fund.
Oh, wait, we didn't go, no, we
Oh,
didn't
sorry, was there
go.
one?
We did public information and then
Oh,
requirements.
sorry about that.
What were you asking?
What were there questions on the PIO or for the requirements page?
Where's the PIO?
On, right before Gretchen, after the police department, the
Oh,
next page,
okay.
top is the PIO.
Okay.
And PIO is mostly our PIO salary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, is that because she was only part-time and now we're
Yes.
just.
Yeah, because she got hired, I don't believe at the beginning of the year, so she came in partway through the year. Then we allocated her to her own department, so then now that's why you're seeing it go from that 47,000 to 114 for the salary and fringe, just because she wasn't here for a whole year. So she just hit her year, I want to say like a month ago. And then your requirement summary is just basically from those other pages that is just put down here that you can see. So it breaks down each of those from M&S, capital overlay, and then your allocated requirements, your debt service. Any questions on those? Okay. Now we're getting into restricted funds. The nice thing too is if you do have, just for curiosity or you want to know more, the team has put together a good little synopsis at the top so that you can see with each of these funds and read a little bit more about what they are.
And this is all you can use the money for.
Yeah.
When we have required funds, it's like, usually they've been voted for by the people, so that the voters, whether it's King City or the whole state, and we determine how we wanted this money spent. And then the finance department has to keep that money in separate funds so that they can report it and show that.
Yep.
And that is like, yes, Gretchen.
I have a question. The legislature last year proposed a significant increase in revenue sources for transportation. There's a ballot measure on that would get rid of that. And my question is, and I don't know if you guys have any information, ODOT would be looking at massive layoffs and cutting revenue hither, thither, and yon. I'm concerned that that could impact the money that we are currently getting, gas tax dollars. And has anybody looked at that issue? Because it's a big deal, because they wouldn't be able to do anything about it until next.
I don't think we haven't discussed or even.
Because I'm very concerned. It'd be looking at about a 40% cut.
Okay.
Is it really a cut though? Because right now, isn't it saying that we're gonna go from 43 to 46 cents a gallon as an example?
Yeah, but
So that means that
they were
wouldn't add.
looking at, I did some research. They're looking at laying off without the increase, about a quarter of their staff
But
and all of the things that they do.
we don't know how the vote's gonna turn out. Then after that,
It's
they'll have to
okay.
find funding from other sources, I've heard.
Well,
That's what I heard.
I'm very concerned that this could negatively impact our revenue that we get from ODOT stuff.
We can follow up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Linda.
Liney, I don't know what CDBG means. The fact that it's blank for the coming budget, is that going to disappear altogether?
Yes, after this next year, if there is nothing in there, right, we'll take it off
And
after it's been there for 2 years.
is it CDBG?
What is CD? Is that the grant?
That's the grant money.
Oh, that helped with block grant.
Community development.
Block grants.
These acronyms. I thought the Methodists were bad.
Vince, did you have anything at all? Okay, I'll see you later. All right. Yeah, so the street fund, like was mentioned earlier, these are funds that we get from specific resources, and then they have to be spent on specific things. So it might be offsetting street lighting or street improvements. This is where we work with Consor, our engineering firm that helps put together. There's already been a capital improvement plan that's been approved by the council. There's also the TSP. And so as we start moving through the TSP relook, and then also when we get through our strategic session, we'll have, I'm working on a continuum right now for council, so you can see what time of the year that we're going to be working on certain things. The capital improvement plan we'll work on as a council so that you can decide if that's the right priority list of projects that you want. That's how this fund works. And then the other thing you'll see, just to throw it out there, you'll see a contingency line. Every fund will have a contingency. So like this operating contingency, it's really important too that if we see that decreasing, that we build that back. We want to hold a contingency in our street fund as well. So, all right, if there's nothing in street fund, then or on this first page of the street fund, we're going to keep moving through here. Yes.
So normally we got the streets we were planning. That's in the future.
Yeah.
That is a future document that's going to be presented to city council.
Yes. And one of the things too, that not to dive into it too much, there's been some discussion. I know the mayor and I have talked a little bit about it with some others. I went and worked on with staff and the council president and the mayor and Patty last week. Was it like on Tuesday or something, like Monday, Tuesday? We went out to 131st. The median in there was full of weeds. We went through, and then I had Ronnie and Max come down to help me finish it off last week. Anyway, in that, there was discussion about, oh, this median's being taken out. In the capital projects, this is something that we'll work on with council. The conversations that I've heard is, no, we haven't even gone out for bid yet. We still have to do preliminary design, get all the way up to 60% design. Then the contractor will go do bids. We'll figure out how much it costs. Then we'll have to put a plan together of when we actually do that work and that construction. We might not be taking that median out for a few years.
So we just put it in and now we're going to take it out?
Well, it was put in, and then now there's been a bunch of discussion because it bottlenecks and it causes a lot of issues on that street. Because yeah, exactly. So we put it in, now we got to take it out. How much money is that gonna? So
Could we have more
it's gonna be part of it.
clarification on that maybe?
What was that?
Could we have more clarification on it? Maybe if Ronnie's still in there, because we did take a vote as a council a few months ago, thinking that there was a number presented to council that was like 85,000 versus 120 or 140 if we did it as a standalone versus including it in this year's street improvements. And I believe Max had said if we just add it to our list of street improvements, it could be included. And we had voted on that. So I'm not understanding, I guess.
I think that's
now
just
the increase.
design. That's not, I think that's just the design work. That's not the construction bid.
But we had talked about, like Max had said, we can then move forward with it, like probably in September. Like, does anybody else remember that discussion in that council meeting?
It was a
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll follow up. It could have been just a preliminary estimate, like the engineering firm was saying this is what we think it would cost, but they still have to go through prelim design up to the 90% design, then go out for bid on who would bid for it. So there's still work from my understanding. Some of this stuff was done too before I got here. I'll follow up, Rachel, and then I'll follow up with you. But from my understanding is they haven't even gone out for bid. They haven't even done the design yet. So they don't even know what the design is. Because they were just asking us how many feet would we be looking at removing, and we said like 200 feet.
Right. So I guess I'm confused why we haven't moved forward on that if that's what we voted to move forward on it. And so I thought that was something included in this summer's street improvement project. I didn't realize there was a whole other process. So we probably need to figure that out.
Okay, I'll follow up offline. Max will be back tomorrow, and then I'll do some follow-up this week.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on, let's see. So you can see here there's requirements for roadway signs, street operations, and then capital improvements. These are getting a little bit more, kind of into the weeds, but you can see like there is a little bit for vehicle maintenance. There is a little bit for street lighting expense, for contract services, and then also legal fees. Sometimes we do have to have things that are reviewed by legal. Yes, Gretchen.
Question. We have a light out here that faces down, lights the sidewalk, the stairs.
Yeah.
it is pitch black heading. If you're parking across the street, which most of the time we have to do, is there any way we could adjust that light or put a different light that would give some lighting across the street, because there's no light in the parking lot across?
I'm gonna just interrupt. I just noted that to add to our agenda meeting that we're gonna have on Wednesday. Because I think that would be a good item.
Right, I've thought about it too,
Yeah.
because we could put a light even on City Hall because we own the building that then pushes down to the roadway. And then we would own the light and we don't have to go through like PGE or anything like that.
Because, you know, meetings are at night.
Yeah.
And I heard that it rains and occasionally is foggy, and
I mean, I've almost been hit during the daytime crossing the street from that line into the.
Yeah, the lighting's not great, but let's add that to our next meeting.
Okay, we'll follow back on that.
Sorry, I gotta leave at noon, so I'm trying to be.
Gotcha, Rachel.
We're getting. I mean, we're getting close to the 12:30 mark, anyways. But
We're doing good. Local option
Thank
levy. Okay, so I think there were some questions about the reduction in this, but I think we answered those. So you can see it's 462,000 is the assumption for next year. Any questions, any other clarification or questions on the local option levy? Okay. All right, now we get into the Park System Development Charges Fund. This is our Park SDC fund. So this is money that can only be used for capital improvements regarding parks. So that's only that this can be used for. So like I mentioned earlier, there's land acquisition, site improvements, landscaping, equipment, and then there is some money that we can use for administration as well. Very small amount. So as of today, we have about 500,000 for property acquisition, with a beginning balance of roughly $750,000.
Where is that line item? What? Oh, I see.
For the property acquisition.
15,
Yeah, so 15. And the reason for that is because, you know, the developments have slowed down. As these pick up, these coffers will fill. So more money will be bringing in as more developments are done. Just unfortunately where we're at right now on the stage, we don't have much. And then also this ties into, there is some land acquisition that the city needs to look at coming up in the next probably, I don't know, probably the next handful of years, if not the next year, for our municipal site. So I believe that we need to acquire the land for that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this SDC fund for parks limited to the capital list in the master plan? In other words, we've got a list of projects in the master plan that these SDC funds were estimated on. How can we spend it on something other than that list is my question.
The list is a plan. As long as the project, like an example that we got voted down for that, but that property at the end of 131st Street, it was buying property. It was, you know, the neighbors talked city council into not voting for it, and we missed that opportunity to buy that property, but that would be where, you know, it was off the list, and if something came up where somebody wanted to sell a piece of property that would be ideal part, and the voters said, hey, we're interested in, and directed the city council to direct the city manager into looking at it, you'd put it up. It would qualify for this fund. The estimate is just a plan, not written in
It
stone.
doesn't have to be listed on there for you to do that, if that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There could be things off of the list that you could acquire.
But you can't use it for maintenance. That's what always comes up, is why can't we fix the cracks in the path?
We can replace existing equipment.
You can't maintain.
But you might have, let's say there's an opportunity where a parcel of land came up for sale, something happened and it wasn't anticipated, it wasn't on the list, but the city had an opportunity to purchase that property. And it fell under this where you could use the park SDCs. Then the council could decide, we want to pursue that, direct the city manager to pursue that property.
So we can change the comprehensive plan, which is the master plan,
Mhm.
which is the list of capital projects. We can change it
I wouldn't say you're
But-
changing it, you're,
we could eliminate money to buy some, or to do a project by spending it on something else.
I'd say you're probably prioritizing it. So it's still, you still have the list and you're still going through the list. You might have an opportunity that you want to seize, and so that opportunity isn't on the list. And so you would take SDC funds to acquire that. That'd be a council vote, though. The council would have to vote on that, approve it, then direct the city manager to go off and purchase that.
Master plan's a guideline.
It's not a, you don't have to follow, it's not something that you have to do like to a T, every single thing on there. It's like Viva saying, it's like a guide. It's like having the difference between like a standard operating procedure to maybe like a directive, right? The operating procedure is, yeah, you should do it this way. The directive is you shall do it this way.
Okay,
Right.
well, I need to have more discussion on that because the comprehensive plan is the law.
Yeah,
It's,
you have to have a comprehensive plan.
it is,
the plan.
it defines the land uses that you can have. Anyway, that's.
We
I
can
need to-
talk offline
yeah,
about that. Yeah.
The plan and how you have to follow the plan, the plan doesn't make law. It is a law to have a plan so that you're planning for the future. And it gives you a guideline to plan. It is not written in stone. That's where a lot of misunderstandings came.
It's a document too, exactly like Viva was saying. It's not a static document. It changes. So like every year, once we get a strategic plan in place, we're reviewing it every year, and then you're modifying it too. Because if you have a plan that, like a comprehensive plan that's in the weeds, but society changes, everything around us is changing, that plan has to do that too, right? So it's but anyway, we can talk more about that offline. Any other questions on the park SDC?
One more thing for the park SDC, we didn't budget anything for the next year because the escrow account.
Yeah, so now money, and that's a whole other thing that we'll need to educate folks on, of where money goes into escrow. Like I mentioned earlier, that's where the developers, then we made an agreement with them. They're gonna build the park and they fund it out of the escrow. So they go into the escrow account to use those funds. Okay, we'll go now on to the TDT, onto our transportation development tax. So this next year, we budgeted 1.3 million in TDT tax revenue. And this is because of the 244 new residential building units that are being carried over from this year into next year.
That's how many permits have gone out.
Rachel, I know
Yes.
you're on a timeline and you said you want to get out of there by noon. Do you have any general questions right now so we can get you out of here by noon?
I mean, I think we're almost done. No, I don't have any on this page
Yeah,
though.
in case you had anything, I want to make sure.
Thank you.
I have a question about TDT tax revenues. Those are collected by Washington County, right?
Yes.
Okay. And they are then specifically allocated and paid to King City based on the money collected for our development. Is that
Will
correct?
be collected by the city.
Or is it collected, is this one that's collected by the county, or is that
The TDT funds, yeah.
The developers.
Is it from the developers?
Part of the permit. I think these are collected correct.
These are the ones for the permits, and the other one
Yeah.
from the county would be is that?
The state,
That's
tax, like the street funds.
That's a street fund comes from the county. Okay, sorry. So I'm mixing those up. This one comes from the developers to the city. So these are the funding that comes
That it's
It's a county law
that's right.
Yes.
that the city enforces with the builder. So the city collects from the builder and the law comes from what we as a county voted on rather than the city.
Okay. The
That's,
city collects it, Washington County doesn't.
no.
Not on this.
It's only allocated to the city. The
First
county can't spend it on something
No.
else.
Correct.
No.
And we can only spend it for transportation.
Yeah.
So it's allocated, when we voted as Washington County voters, we determined where that money was gonna be. What was going to be used for when we charged development in the county.
So this is like your sidewalks, your bike lanes, like things like that you would allocate that money towards. But yes, it comes to the city, not the county first, who then takes a cut and gives us.
We submit
That's
a
different from the
report-
street fund.
we
Yeah.
Submit a report every year to the county.
To the county.
Report how much revenue we receive. If we have any project, what is the expenditure total? We have to report it.
So the county manages it and we have to report to them.
Yes.
And the county sets the rate.
Because then it's very similar, and then we're gonna roll into the next one is our transportation SDC fund. So you have your transportation development tax, and then you have your transportation SDC fund. Kind of like the previous one, this is where this is used on the transportation infrastructure. So like if there was a bus route that maybe we wanted to widen the street or have bus shelters and work with TriMet to have those installed, you could probably use this tax to be able to accomplish that. So for this year, let's see, we have this, it looks like beginning balance of 1.3, almost $1.4 million. And then with an expenditure of 1.5 million in transportation, SDC capital projects and property acquisition. And we can, in these SDC funds, not very much, but you can offset some administrative fee, like administrative costs. So like Max or myself, we can take some of our salary and use SDC funds to cover that, as long as we're specifically working on these things. So I
So it's
can't.
like you have to track your hours on these
100%.
projects, then we can allocate the money from here for some of that.
That chunk of administrative.
Because the goal is to free up as much general fund as you can, right?
Right.
Because general fund, again, can go towards almost anything. These are so restricted, they can only be applied. Like on here, you can see it's land acquisition, site development, landscaping, equipment, and then there is a little bit for administration. But this goes back to our planning, kind of like you were saying, Gary, where this is where the strategic plan, your capital improvement plan, they kind of marry together, and then you have a plan in place of what of the plan that you would follow of when you would accomplish. But some of these too, just like with anything, you might say like, well, we'll have this road built in 2031 because of the way, maybe money's not coming in, maybe costs are so expensive, whatever it may be, maybe that gets pushed out to 2040. And then because of that, maybe that then there's another opportunity that comes up that also push that down because a piece of property came up that you can't pass on that the city decided to acquire, that they would then push the priorities of everything else down and just all the timelines as well. But you wanted to take advantage of acquiring that property, even though it wasn't on your master plan.
This is the last page because ARPA doesn't count.
I was gonna say.
Does not count. So any questions? Rachel, did you have anything on this?
Nope, nothing for me.
Okay. And then the ARPA funds, the last one, like we said, this is that American Rescue Plan. These are funds that we have not used for a few years. This will be coming off after next year. We've gone to Treasury and told them we don't have the money anymore. There's not really much discussion on this unless you had questions or if you want to know something specific. But there's no money to ARPA. So
Let's hope we never have to get money, that we receive money for that reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in.
can I knock on wood?
Yeah.
It was a
We don't want
catastrophic
pandemics. It was
Never
nice to
mind.
have a little fun to work with, but I'd rather not have the money and not have to go through that.
Well, since we have just a few minutes left, can I ask, just since we're done, and you don't have to tell me right now, you can tell me in private if you want. I'd like to kind of know how this went. Oh, yeah, public comments. I'd like to know just how this went after action, if there's things that you'd like to see done differently in the future, maybe things that you didn't see this year that you'd like to see next year, let me know, and then we can try to develop that for next year. Yes, Gretchen.
We need to have a motion.
Yeah.
To.
Yes, no, I'm gonna go through that now. Yeah, yes. I just wanted to get that piece out for folks that I'm always looking for process improvements. Okay, with that being said, anything else one last time? Any other questions for anybody?
We have to say something about public.
That's what we're gonna do is public comments.
After Steve, yeah,
So is Ronnie taking notes or minute?
we've been
We're
recording.
recording it.
So at some point, somebody can convert the statement that I need city council to direct me to take some action. That was said a number of times. I'd like to make sure we get a list of those things that.
It's pretty, I can send that in an email. It's pretty much just directing me to look at cost recovery or funding sources.
I think a list of those, if I could interject, a list of those would just be great for our agenda meeting because we should just add those items.
Yep.
for the items.
That sounds
Okay.
like an easy AI task that you would
Yes.
ask them to go through the recording and they will do it. They will give us a list. And
Well,
I would like to, entertain a motion that, oh, first I would like for any public comment Ronnie, I'm thinking we don't have anybody out there that they didn't attend this exciting opportunity to hear a budget. They missed it. I would also like to entertain a motion that we approve the budget that we just went through, that we've discussed with the people who spent a lot of time preparing this to educate us on this. Any last questions?
I would like to move approval of the proposed budget as explained and recommend that to city council for approval in accordance with state law.
I second.
Thank you. We have a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I would like to thank the city staff for all the effort that you put into this. It's comforting to have Vincent on board with your background in finance and budgeting. It makes me feel confident that the city's going to be on the right track. There's been a lot of things that I've heard over the past years that we have a budget crunch. Sounds like we still have that problem. But I'd like to say thank you for looking at this and looking forward and anticipating how to get back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, for bringing up
Second.
all the work you guys did.
Thank you.
The improvements you've done to the verbiage, that was very nice, clarified, easy to read. The only thing I would suggest is that maybe we print these bigger. Yeah, like Lance, a little less.
I'm all in favor of that.
And can we put page numbers on them?
Yes, we will definitely do that. We will add page numbers and we will make some improvements for next year. One thing too is I'm only as good as the team around me. And so I am so thankful to have not only these two, but everybody else who works so hard here at the city. And I just don't know if people understand how hard the people that work for you and for our community, what they do every day. So thank you to both of you too for this. I wouldn't have been able to do this if it wasn't for them. So
One comment I will make is I feel like this has been the most informative budget committee meeting that I've attended, and I've attended several where we have kind of gotten into the weeds a little bit, but we have really explored exactly what those numbers mean, and I so appreciate it on everybody's.
thank you. So we just see now we have to go through
Do we need a roll call vote? Ronnie, would you take it away, please?
Veva Goehler,
Approve.
Gretchen Buhner,
Approve.
Jennifer Johnson,
Approved.
Patty Nichols Gerhart,
Approve.
Counselor Tyso,
Yes.
Counselor President Gerhart,
Yeah.
Counselor Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Kazminski,
Yes.
and Counselor Quanstrom.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. 1 minute, I got later there.
Bye, guys. Thank
We
you.
need to adjourn.
And now.
Yeah, Mayor.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, we have
Sorry.
to motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn. And
I so
Joe just did it. Linda, I think you raised your hand a second.
Maybe vitamins. I'll do it.
And this, I think, just needs a hand vote. We're ready to adjourn. Was I right on the hand vote, Ronnie? Yay.
I think we need these to be reused.
That would be excellent if you wouldn't mind. We would. love to-
Yeah, don't need the scrap.
Would you say, Jennifer?
Everybody.
Oh.
So they can get back.
We just had it back.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, this, I would. Repurpose this.